The CEO, Eleanor Hayes, had built a reputation as an untouchable force in the corporate world, sharp, unyielding, and always in control. But behind the glass walls of her office, her personal life told a different story. Her 6-year-old daughter, Lily, had been mute since birth, a condition that baffled doctors and left Eleanor constantly struggling with guilt. Determined to give her daughter a piece of ordinary childhood, Eleanor decided to take a rare Saturday off and bring Lily to the neighborhood playground. The playground was alive with squeals of laughter, the rhythmic creak of swings, and the crunch of gravel under little shoes. Lily's eyes widened as she clutched her mother's hand tightly, scanning the children rushing around the slides and monkey bars. Eleanor crouched down and smoothed her daughter's hair, whispering, "Go ahead, sweetheart. You can play." Lily hesitated, her lips moving but no sound escaping, then slowly shuffled toward the swings. From a bench nearby, a man with kind eyes was watching. His name was Daniel Carter, a single father who had been raising his 8-year-old son, Max, alone for the past 3 years. Daniel noticed Lily sitting quietly on the swing, moving slightly but not joining in with the other children. Her silence set her apart. Most kids might have ignored her, but Daniel had been raising Max with empathy and patience. He leaned down to his son and whispered something. Max nodded, then bounded over to the girl on the swing. "Hi, I'm Max. Want me to push you?" he asked cheerfully. Lily blinked at him, unsure, then gave the tiniest nod. Max grinned and gently pushed her swing. The smile that spread across Lily's face was like the first blossom of spring, soft, unexpected, and utterly beautiful. Eleanor froze, her breath catching in her throat. For months she had tried to encourage her daughter to interact, only to watch her retreat in silence. And now, in the space of seconds, a stranger's son had drawn Lily out. Eleanor's eyes shifted to Daniel, who gave her a reassuring smile as if to say, "It's okay, she's safe." For the first time in a long while, Eleanor felt a warmth she couldn't explain, an unfamiliar sense of hope. Eleanor found herself sitting beside Daniel on the park bench as they watched their children. She wasn't used to small talk, especially with strangers. But there was something different about him. He didn't approach with pity or judgment. "She's your daughter?" Daniel asked gently, nodding toward Lily, who was now climbing the slide with Max cheering her on. "Yes. Her name's Lily." Eleanor's voice softened. "She's wonderful," Daniel said simply, no trace of condescension in his tone. Eleanor's shoulders relaxed, the invisible armor she always wore beginning to slip. She explained, haltingly, that Lily was mute. She braced herself for the awkward sympathy or probing questions that usually followed, but Daniel only nodded thoughtfully. "My son didn't speak until he was almost 4, he said. Doctors said he was just late to talk, but those years taught me patience. I know it's different, but I can imagine a little of what you're carrying." Eleanor's eyes flicked to him. No one had ever spoken to her like that before, not diminishing her struggle, not exaggerating it, just understanding. Meanwhile, Lily was laughing, soundless but radiant, as Max pretended to fall dramatically every time he slid down the slide. Eleanor had never seen her daughter this animated with another child. It was as though Max instinctively understood how to meet her in her silence. Daniel told her about his own life, raising Max alone after his wife passed away. His honesty disarmed her. She realized he wasn't trying to impress her, he was simply sharing himself. Eleanor, usually guarded, found herself admitting things she rarely said aloud, that she felt she was failing Lily, that she didn't know how to bridge the gap her daughter's silence created. "You're not failing her," Daniel said firmly. "You're here. That's more than most people give." Something in Eleanor's chest tightened. She had heard countless accolades in boardrooms, yet this simple affirmation from a stranger meant more than any award she had ever received. As their conversation deepened, time seemed to blur. 2 lives, both shaped by struggle, were gently weaving into each other. And at the heart of it all were 2 children, laughing, playing, understanding each other in ways words could never capture. The playground was beginning to empty as the golden hues of sunset washed over the swings and slides. Eleanor glanced at her watch, startled by how quickly the hours had passed. She rose to call Lily, but paused when she saw Daniel kneeling in front of her daughter. Lily stood in front of him, tugging at the loose lace of her shoe. Daniel smiled and said, "Let me help." He carefully tied the lace, then double-knotted it with the precision of a father who had done this countless times. Lily watched him intently, her usual shyness replaced with quiet trust. When he finished, she surprised them both. Instead of retreating, she took his hand in her small one, then pointed upward toward the fading sky streaked with orange and pink. Daniel followed her gesture. Beautiful, isn't it? He said softly. Eleanor, a few steps away, froze. Her daughter never reached for strangers, never shared her silent world with anyone outside their home. And now here she was, holding this man's hand, showing him the wonder she usually kept locked inside. Tears stung Eleanor's eyes as she realized this was more than a small moment, it was a breakthrough. Her heart pounded with a mix of emotions. Gratitude, vulnerability, and something deeper, something she hadn't dared to feel in years, the possibility of connection. Daniel looked up and met Eleanor's gaze. In his eyes, she saw no agenda, no judgment, just quiet kindness. It terrified her, and yet, it made her want to stay. For years, Eleanor had lived her life in control, running boardrooms, managing empires, and locking away her feelings. But standing there, watching her mute daughter blossom under the care of a stranger and his son, she realized she wasn't in control at all. Fate had written this moment, and she could either step into it or let it slip away. Eleanor walked over, her voice unsteady. Lily, it's time to go. Lily hesitated, her hand still clutching Daniel's. Daniel smiled and gently let go, giving her a small nod. We'll see you again, okay? Lily gave him a silent grin, and Eleanor's chest tightened. It was the first time she'd ever seen her daughter part from someone with that kind of warmth. As they left the playground, Eleanor glanced back once more. Daniel and Max were still there, waving. And in that fleeting instant, Eleanor Hayes, the woman who thought she had everything, realized she might have just stumbled upon the one thing she never knew she was missing.